Seoul is the capital of South Korea, a city with a long history and rich culture. Seoul is divided into 25 districts known as gu and 467 neighborhoods known as dong, such as Myeongdong, Insadong, and Seongsudong. Today, we will meet a Dutch YouTuber who has been exploring and documenting the unique sights and stories found in these Seoul neighborhoods from top to bottom. It's Bart van Genugten who's running the channel iGoBart. Welcome, Bart.
Hello,
Hi, Bart.
it's so nice being here.
Thanks for being on the program. So why don't we start with a brief introduction of yourself?
Okay, my name is Bart. I've been in South Korea for over 7 years. And I'm a travel YouTuber, full-time.
Wow. Okay, so because you are a travel YouTuber, why don't you tell us a little bit about your most recent trips?
Okay, well, I travel mostly inside South Korea, mostly inside Seoul. But recently I've been to the China-North Korea border. And I started in Dandong, which is a Chinese border city. And from there all the way to back to San. They call it Changbaisan in China. And that was fascinating.
Wow.
You know, we have that image of the border here, the DMZ, heavily militarized, a buffer zone, impossible to cross. And then you go to China and it's just a small river dividing two countries. You can almost touch the other side.
Interesting.
Wow,
Yeah.
very interesting. And so you've been traveling around the world and you settled in a place that you liked, which is here, South Korea. What would you say was a deciding factor for you to live here and settle here?
Ooh, my first time in South Korea was in 2014. And it was just something about the energy. I could feel that this country soon will become well known around the world. I could feel it. I could hear the young Koreans talking about how much they want to introduce their culture to the other countries. And back then, 2014, the people in the Netherlands, they still asked me, "Oh, Bart, did you go to North Korea?" I said, "No, I was in South Korea. What are you talking about?" They just didn't know much about South Korea. And of course, the soju, the makgeolli, nightlife culture, convenience stores at every corner of the street, safety, all those things contributed to me wanting to stay here in South Korea.
Wow, so you had that feel about Korea, you know, being more aware, that the people around the world would be more aware of Korea in years to come. So I guess that happened in the past decade or so. And Bart, on your YouTube channel, iGoBart, you have a series called Welcome to My Dong, which is also part my favorite series of your channel.
Really?
Yes, it is. So please tell us about it, and also how many dongs have you visited already, and introduce us to that specific series.
Okay, so the series is called Welcome to My Dong, and Dong in Korea means neighborhood, not the slang that they use in other countries. So Seoul has 467 neighborhoods, and I have explored 110. It goes really slowly. There's so many of them. And my goal is to explore all of them in depth. I just want to uncover the hidden history, the hidden stories, the people, the food, a lot of things that people don't really know much about it, and try to identify what the neighborhoods are about. So if people watch my videos, instead of going to all the famous landmarks, maybe they change their mind and add some other neighborhoods to their itinerary. That's my goal.
Wow. I mean, 110 out of 467. That brings me to my next question. Why did you choose dong, not the gus, for instance? You would have 25 districts.
I know, it would have been a shorter series. But the dong, imagine a gu. A gu has so many dongs. So if I want to make one video about one gu, it will take me weeks to make one video because of all the dongs. Because one dong sometimes takes me 1-2 days to film, and then 1 week to research, and then 1 week to edit. So it's a lot of work. And I think if you focus on a gu, you zoom out too much. You automatically focus on the major landmarks, because if you go too deep, then you need to make a 10-hour-long video.
So you want to get more in depth, right?
Yes, definitely.
So definitely dong and many dongs.
Yeah, because every dong has its own name. For example, Hapcheongdong, Seongsudong, and those names already tell a story. There's a reason why that particular neighborhood has that name.
Exactly. And which neighborhoods have you lived already in Seoul, and how would you describe your own neighborhood?
It's very hard to describe my own neighborhood. My first neighborhood was Hapcheongdong, and then I moved to Dangindong. What's it called? The Octop Bang? A rooftop home.
Yes.
So I started out in a guest house, then a rooftop home. Then I went to the Jiabang.
Which is underground.
Yes, from the famous
floor,
movie, right? And then I went to a villa in Seongsudong. So all the neighborhoods I have lived in were in Mapo-gu, the Mapo district. And that district has a special place in my heart, because I had my first experiences in Korea in those neighborhoods. But here's the thing, you don't really know much about your own neighborhood. I care more about the neighborhoods that are far away from me. And I always had in my mind, okay, the last video of my series will be the neighborhood where I have lived in.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow.
I kind of agree with that part that you really don't know much about your own neighborhood at times because we here in Korea, some people don't go to the big landmarks,
Right.
while tourists, people from abroad would definitely go to, I don't know, Namsan Tower
Yeah.
or the big places, right?
That is definitely true. And I especially learn a lot from your videos on the region on the dong that I live in. So it's definitely gets into the details.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you now, while you were filming this episode, this series, were there any fun or memorable episodes that you want to share with us?
Too many.
Oh, probably.
Too many. But quite recently I went to Insadong. You know, I think.
Tteokbokki is famous there.
Tteokbokki is really famous there, yeah, and it's great. But I looked beyond that, and then I quickly learned that back in the days, Insadong used to be a cemetery for both Koreans and for the Japanese during colonial times. So what I always do when I explore neighborhoods, I go to a very old-looking store and I talk to the sajangnim, a store that's over 40, 50 years old, because the sajangnim has seen the neighborhood change. And then I ask questions like, hey, how was it back in the days? Wow. So there was this halmoni in a kwail kage, like a fruit store. And she said, yeah, okay, this used to be a cemetery. And she lived right next to one of the smaller, older city gates. One of the few gates where only corpses were allowed to be carried through because they had to go to the cemetery. And then because of the cemetery, she told me, many shamans moved in to deal with the grief of family members. And Insadong means shamanic altar, Insadong, so that's where the name comes from. So we had a good conversation and I wanted to say bye, and it was really cold in winter. So I said, Chupchi Maseo. But she understood Chukchi Maseo, so, which means don't die. And I was so stupid, and she hit me really hard, like harmony style pats on the back in a funny way. And that's a moment I will never forget because we had this really meaningful conversation about the history, her store, my bad Korean. and then I realized it's often the people that make the neighborhood. The history is important, the history can be fascinating, but when you really remember a neighborhood, it's because of the people you met inside the neighborhood.
Right.
That is so fascinating. And I guess that you probably know maybe even more than just the regular Korean residents about these neighborhoods because you learn about the history and also the facts about how the city has become the city or the dong has become the neighborhood that it is today.
Yeah.
Now, Bart, are there also maybe some neighborhoods that you feel are a little underrated or just you would like more people to know about those dongs?
Yes, I'd say Seongsudong. And inside Seongsudong you have the Dongmyo flea market. Of course, many people have heard about this place, but it's still underrated. I can say Suyodong or Dongjeondong in the south or north, but people will never go there, it's too far away. And Dongmyo is a place, you have to go on the weekend, where many merchants sell secondhand stuff. It's all vintage. It's like seeing Korea in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. It didn't change at all. The food, the restaurants, the drinks are much more affordable than other places in the city. I feel like inflation, economic crisis, that doesn't hit that place. They just keep the prices the same way. And it has a lot of history. So yeah, the Dongmyo flea market in the weekend is a must.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep mind of that.
Dongmyo, yes, flea market. And I know there's many reasons for people to visit Seoul or to have this Seoul as a fascinating city. But for people who may not know, why is Seoul such a fascinating place to visit?
I always compare it with Amsterdam, capital city of the Netherlands, where I'm from. If you look at Amsterdam, you can see the development took almost 400 or 500 years to make it the city it is today. Korea has done the same in maybe less than 100 years. So in such a short time, the city has changed so fast and is still changing fast that you have hundreds of layers on top of each other. And they're all, here and there still a little bit visible, but the back layers are fading slowly and there are new layers forming on top. And to me, it's really fun to explore a city with so many layers because it's like peeling an onion and you try to get to the center of it in order to understand it. So Seoul, you can visit a few days and you go back home and yeah, K-food amazing, K-films, K-drama, K-pop and all of that. But then there are those 60 layers underneath that you can still explore. So many reasons to come back or stay longer.
Definitely.
And speaking of exploring, Bart, you're probably going to still explore the more than 300 dongs that you still have to.
When I'm 80 years old, I will be like, "Ah, finally, I'm done."
I think you'll be able to manage in the next decade or so, maybe.
Decade sounds good.
But well, once you introduced all the 467 neighborhoods, what would be your next plan, maybe?
A long, long vacation.
Oh, okay.
No, I want to write a book about it.
Oh,
Yeah, I
tell
want
us
to
more about
write a
it.
detailed book about every single neighborhood in the city, both in English and in Korean.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
We'll be
very
looking forward to that.
Yeah, you gotta wait a little longer.
Okay, we'll be patient.
Yes, and once that book comes out, make sure to visit us again, right?
Of course.
Oh yes, please invite me again.
All right, Bart, thank you very much for sharing your story with us
Thank you.
today, and we look forward to your upcoming videos.
Thank you so
Thank
much. Yeah.
And thank you, Bella. As always, we're going to see you back here tomorrow.
Yes, I'll see you back tomorrow.